Um, right, so it's recording. You're right, guys. Welcome back to WezLife. Today I'm joined with my buddy Jordan Seddon.
Hello, hello, hello.
There he is. Now, we aren't together. This is been recorded over Discord. Because we're still, unfortunately, in this whole coronavirus thing. You know what, Jordan? I just closed my window a minute ago, and I could proper smell someone having a barbecue. I'm just like,
Pure
what?
barbecue is when you're meant to be
Pure
locked down.
barbecue. I'm like, what is going on? It's not. It's to be honest, it's not that dark outside, but it's getting late. But yeah, I was pretty bored, and I thought this would be a fun idea of an episode. Just so basically, it's just me and Jordan. I'm going to be telling him some kind of stuff. We're just going to be discussing it, and you can listen in and enjoy it if you want. But yeah, basically this week I've spent a lot of time just like watching. Well, to be honest, I think I might have got to the weird side of like YouTube and the internet because I got very deep in like weird stories and like a lot of alien related stories and like alien abductions and different mysteries and things like that. So we're going to talk about them. Now, Jordan, do you have any kind of like um oh, before we do that, I might as well just mention quick. We've known Jordan for what has it been like 4 years now, maybe?
Uh, it's been since we started. Well, I started level 3 at college, and that was what, like 2016.
Yeah, it would have been
So it's
2016.
like nearly we're in 4 years now.
Yeah. So yeah, we both go to the same university together, studying computing, and that's how we've known each other. But it's been a good time. But yeah, anyway, do you have any kind of like views on like aliens, if you think they exist or anything like that?
I believe that they do
You believe that they
because,
do?
yeah, and now that's because the universe is like massive. There's no denying that.
Hmm.
Yeah. And there's so many galaxies and planets out there that we cannot be the only planet that has some type of life that's able to communicate with each other, like how we can all speak like verbally, and say aliens can have some different way of speaking or whatever. We cannot be the only planet out of all the entire universe to like to have quote unquote humans.
Hmm. So
So
you think this could be something out there, even if it's not necessarily like the aliens we
of course,
picture in films and stuff like that?
yeah, because like the odds of Earth being the only planet that has some life to it, that's just unrealistic.
Right. Well, I've never been fully like convinced about anything, but I do believe in like other things. Like I know, um, I don't. I think I might have asked you this before, but I believe in like spirits and like ghosts and things like that. And
Yeah,
I do. I feel like I've experienced some kind of form of things like that. And now, not everyone believes that. Some people say like, "Oh, that's a bunch of rubbish, baloney, whatever." Aliens, I'm not necessarily sure. I think more people believe in aliens than what they do with ghosts. Because I looked at a study that was done I think it was like 2 years ago, and like I think it was like 54% of the UK believe in aliens, or like other
is
life forms.
is that it? Only 54.
Well, that's still quite a big number. That's
Yeah,
the
but if you think about it, 46% of people believe or don't believe that there's some type of other life out in the universe,
well.
considering it's
Some of them people might just be like, don't have an opinion. Like me, don't. I don't necessarily fully believe that there's something out there, but then I'm just kind of like, oh, I'm not sure. But I hear weird stories, and like I'm going to tell you this weird story in a minute. So I feel like some of them people are probably in that boat where they're just like not sure.
yeah, that's fair. Like how you were saying now, like you believe in ghosts and some people don't, and some people believe in aliens and some people don't. I personally believe in both.
Right.
Like, who's to say that these ghosts aren't aliens? Because aliens, in our mind, are something that's not
like
human.
E.T., walking around with a big head, big eyes, things like
The
that.
the representation of aliens is hilarious, just because of like what we picture them to be in movies compared to what they actually could be. They could just look like us. We will
Could
never
do.
know. We just when you think alien, you think grey, big head, big eyes, small nose, and a small mouth or something like that, and like no ears or something because it's just not natural to
Mm,
like you just go way beyond what humans look like. You'll be like, oh, you're not gonna look like a human, so it's just like make them look weird.
yeah, you never know. But anyway, let's jump into the story. Now, have you heard of a guy called Travis Walton?
I have not.
Okay, so Travis Walton, um, taking you back in time to November 5th, 1975. Now, Travis Walton, I think he worked as basically like a lumberjack. He was like, hacking down trees in the woods and stuff like that. And on this particular day, November, he there was the guys who he worked with. I think there was 6 other guys, so there was 7 of them altogether. And I think they just finished the work, and they were getting ready to go back home. And I think while they were driving, they saw like a big. I think they described it as not necessarily like a UFO, but they said it was like a huge, like metal, kind of like like a ship basically in the middle of these woods. But it was like I think they said it was about 100 feet off the ground, and he said there was this little opening, and they saw it, and they stopped, and when they were looking at it, Travis, the madman that he is, he decides to get out, and he goes over to it, and they're all telling him to get back in the car. And as he walks over and he looks at it, next thing, there's like a big massive kind of, I don't know if it's some kind of like zap or like a beam, and it just kind of, they all said that he got blasted out the way. He never got like sucked up or anything. It wasn't like a tractor beam like we see them in films or whatever. He just kind of,
beam.
yeah, they said it was kind of like a blast, and he kind of went flying, and they all bricked themselves. They thought he was dead, and they just drove off dead quick, like terrified. I know Travis, he says that from that he just kind of remembers getting. He said it felt like it was like electricity going through his body, and he got pushed like away, and he doesn't remember anything. It was like he got knocked out. Now the guys, when they drove off, they were like obviously terrified, and so they was like, "Oh no, that we've done really bad there. We should go back to him." And I think this was 1975. They didn't have like phones on them to ring anyone, so they went back to look for him quick. So they went back. I think maybe like half an hour or an hour, something passed. It wasn't like a massive amount of time. So when they went back, he was just gone. They couldn't find him anywhere. So they went back home and they called the police. And they were all like absolutely terrified. And so the police did like a big search, and they were searching everywhere, and they couldn't find him. And I think after a while, and they couldn't find Travis anywhere, they questioned these 6 guys. And when they questioned them, because they thought that they'd killed him. They thought that they'd killed Travis and like buried him or whatever, got rid of the body, and that they made up that story just to get away with it, because they thought it was a ridiculous story. This, like, they just went and said like basically there's some metal ship in the sky blasted our friend Travis. Now we don't know where he is. So they thought that they made it up or whatever. So they did a lie detector test with all 6 of them, and now 5 of them tests all came back saying that they told the complete truth. And one of the tests said that it was inconclusive, and that basically meant that the guy was like too shook up to complete the test, because it was all over the place, because he was just that like paranoid or whatever. So That's pretty weird. Like 5 of them out of the 6 all said that they were telling the complete truth. Anyway, the weird part, right? 5 days later, they're still doing this big search for him across the place. Travis turns up at a petrol kind of like fuel station in the area, completely naked.
What?
So when they find Travis and he comes around and stuff, and they ask him, he says that he remembers getting blasted with this thing, goes flying, and then he said the next thing he remembers is he was on this metal table, and he looked up, and there was 3. He said they were like 3 kind of. He described them as like human fetuses. So whatever you want to take that for, he said they were really tall, and they were looking down at him, and he said he reached over and he picked up this, like, I think he said it was like a glass cylinder, and he tried to swing at them and he missed them, but then one of them put like a mask over his face, and then he said he kind of got knocked out then or whatever, he went unconscious, and then he woke up naked at the fuel station, and he thought only like 2 hours went by, but in reality it was 5 days. And yeah, so this is, you can Google it, Travis Walton. They made a film about it called Fire in the Sky. Now the film isn't actually accurate. It's like, dramatized for Hollywood, so it's like a horror film really. But he wants to. He goes round to like different alien conventions and everything now. This guy Travis Walton, and he wants to remake the film, but with accuracy. But it's weird that the thing that I find weird about it was the lie detector test. Now people have said that they're not always 100% accurate, and you can just like easily fake them. But I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, like 5 out of 6 to say that they're all telling the truth, and then 1 to be inconclusive. Even back then, it's still odd for that to happen, even though it probably wasn't the most accurate.
Yeah, and I don't really know what the government did, but I think the case got closed pretty quickly, and he was just declared as a crazy guy. This Travis, apparently that's what they declared. But anyway, the 6 guys who were with him, they all ended up quitting the job because they were way too scared about it all. So none of them went back to work, and they were all kind of like PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and stuff like that. Afterwards. Yeah. But it's weird.
It does seem very strange.
And like, I think in recent times, Travis thought he got abducted, but he thinks now, this is another fact I need to add on to you. He thinks now that whatever it was, this ship with the fetuses, he thinks that they were doing some kind of experiment, and he got in the way, and he's been blasted away, And he thinks that they took him, they pretty much saved him by bringing him back to health, and then once he was recovered, then they just dropped him off. I don't know. What do you think about that for a theory?
It's definitely bizarre, to say the least.
Like,
to get in the way of something and for them to blast him away. Like, surely the blast would have made a loud noise or something.
Well, it is weird.
Far-fetched.
But this is another bit of evidence that was later discovered. Now, the trees in the area, they went back there, and a bunch of researchers went with them and stuff because they were interested. And they found that the trees in the area where they said that this ship was above, they were all facing inwards. The bark on the outside they were radioactive, and the outside bark where it was obviously facing showed that the growth rate was more than twice the speed of the other side of the trees. So if you can imagine the tree, and one side of it where they said this ship was, the bark on that tested that the growth rate had been sped up twice as fast as the bark on around the other side of the tree, which is a bit weird. Now they tested a few trees in the area, but it was only them trees that were in this kind of like circular area where apparently the ship were, where this radioactive kind of substance was.
That's definitely weird. Like, there's no explanation for any of that at all. Like, how can one half of a tree grow more than
Exactly.
another half in a circle around an area that they had like said that this spaceship was, and he went missing? It's
Mm.
like everything just links together
Now,
almost too well.
now it is really weird, but stuff like that, I hear that because I'm like, nah, aliens don't exist. But then I hear that and I'm like, that is bizarre. Like, I don't, I'd love to meet Travis and see if he seems like a nice, genuine guy. But it is bizarre to me, and it's just like, what else could it have been? If this, you can go and have a look at all the evidence or whatever for it, and it is there. That's the main bit with the trees anyway. Like, how do you explain that? There's no explanation. It's just weird.
No, there's really not.
And yeah, like I said, people say, oh, the lie detectors can't be that accurate, but I mean, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I just don't. I don't know how easy it would be to like have 5 people pass a lie detector test.
Well, the odds definitely are against them for 5 of them to pass in
Yeah,
a row. Like, it's
yeah,
just simple maths. Like, it's not likely to happen that often.
it is bizarre. Anyway, that's the story of Travis Walton. I mean, I think it could be something. Definitely worth looking into.
Yeah, guys, just do a bit of research on it and let us know in the comments if you find anything else that we didn't mention then.
Yeah, there probably was something because I'm not the best at telling stories at times. Anyway, right, the next story. It isn't necessarily to do with aliens specifically, but there's a couple of. This is an unsolved mystery. And so we can look into it and talk about what we think might have happened. I'll tell you the theories. But have you ever heard, you might have because it's a bit more well known this, because I heard this a few years back, but I recently remembered it, so I tried looking up again, and it's interesting. This is a really interesting and just weird story. But have you heard about an incident called the Dyatlov Pass?
I can't say that I have.
Right, so the Dyatlov Pass, it was basically this event, or not event, more like incident, whatever. And there were 10 hikers. This was in Russia, by the way. And there was 10 hikers. Now, they were doing this hike or whatever, and they were all like really experienced hikers, so they knew what they were doing and stuff. And yeah, they were fine. Now, I think after a few days, one of them actually had to go back because he had an injury with his foot or something. He had some kind of injury. Don't know the details. So he went back, and then a few days later, these guys apparently didn't turn up to where they should have been, and they were waiting for him. So there was 9 of them, by the way, at this point, and so they were like, right, what we'll do then is we'll do an investigation, a search, and we'll go try and find them in these. It was like snowy mountain conditions, and so they went looking for him, and the first thing they found was the tent. And now the tent, when they got there, it was basically a mess. But anyway, this tent, it had been shredded up completely, pretty much. Like, you can look at pictures for all of these. Now, I will warn you, some of this stuff on here, if you find and you can see the pictures, it's pretty graphic and like pretty disgusting. Oh, by the way, I never said it. It happened in I think it was in the 1959. It happened, February 1959. So it was difficult, like terrain, very snowy conditions and everything. So they found Yeah, but that's a warning, by the way. The pictures, if you want to go and look at them, I have warned you. They're pretty graphic. And now, yeah, so they found this tent, and it was shredded up, but they discovered that the cuts of the tent were from the inside out. So all the like rips or whatever, either if they were like slashed open, whatever, it was done from the inside. So none of the tent got destroyed from the outside. It was all on the inside. Okay. And they also, while at the tent, found all the boots of the people, or majority of the boots, I think it was. So basically, they found that they kind of like, if they'd left or whatever, it was in a rush because they'd left the boots behind, or most of them did. And then what they did then was they found, I think it was 2 people they found completely naked about like a mile away or something. So they were completely naked, and I think one of them had like a crushed skull, like a completely fractured skull, and then one of them had like fractured, crushed like ribs, which is pretty bizarre.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that isn't the weirdest part though. But so they carried on looking for people. They might have. I might be getting a bit confused. I think they might have found 3 people actually who were naked, but they were together. And then when they carried on, I think they found. Oh yeah, they found another 3 people. Yeah, there was 3 people naked together, and then they found another 3 people. I might get some of this wrong, but I apologise if I do. You can go and look it up, but majority of it, what I'm telling you, is probably well, it is true. And then yeah, I think the next 3 people that they found, it was they discovered, I think they died, so they'd all run off, but then the next 3 people died. They were going back to the campsite. Okay. And they were discovered near these trees. Now the trees that they found them near, the branches had all been broken off and were like scattered around the bodies. And 2 of the people, all the hands and like the fingernails were all like kind of ripped up, kind of pretty badly. And like some people theorized that they tried to climb up the tree, and that's why the branches were all snapped, because they probably like fell out of the tree or something. And because the hands were like, I think it was like the fingers, like basically it showed sign of like struggle. So people have said like maybe they were trying to like scurry up the tree or whatever. And then the other guy they found, so 2 of them were near the tree. The other guy they found was, I think they described him as like a purple colour, and he had loads of grey foam coming out of his mouth. And yeah, I think that's probably what they were. Oh, they also, I think it was consistent with the other people who they found earlier. They had head injuries, so like the skull was like bashed up or whatever. But it was like, I think the head injury was like, I don't know what you call it. Do you know, it was like the skull was like crushed on the inside, but the outside wasn't like necessarily like all battered.
So like the inside was just destroyed and the outside.
Like the inside of the skull was all like fractured and messed up, but the outside skin wasn't really broken.
That's weird. Like it just happened internally.
Yeah, it is. It's like bizarre. But then, so that's 6 guys, or I don't know if there was a woman. There might have been a woman, 2 or 3 women. There was some girls, but 6 people. Let's say that 6 people they found. Now the 4 remaining people they couldn't actually find until I think it was like a month or 2 later they found them. It was like a period of time, and when they found them, they were like 2 miles away from the rest of the people, and they were under like snow, buried pretty deep, and they found that they were wearing the clothes of the people who they'd found who were naked, and they were very consistent with the fractured skulls and like broken ribs. And one of them, this is a weird bit, one of them had, it was actually a girl, I remember, she had her tongue completely removed and chunks of her lip were gone.
It's like some bit her lip and took her tongue.
It is bizarre. I apologise to people who just, wanted to relax and listen to a nice, happy podcast. This isn't it. This is gruesome stuff. So,
do beware if you do Google any of this.
Yeah.
Like, it could be quite disturbing to look at.
And now anyway, that's the 9 people now. I said one of them actually went back. Now that one person, he went and he actually was on part of the search team and whatever. And he actually found bits of like clothing and some other little things or whatever that he said didn't belong to any of the hikers, and it's unexplained because he doesn't know where they came from. And so this is actually like an unsolved mystery. Now there's different theories. Now the first one is that there was an avalanche. Now that's the first theory, that there was an avalanche. Oh wait, I didn't actually talk about an important piece of information. Now, all 9 people, when they were like researched on and whatever, it was concluded that all 9 of them had died from hypothermia, and not a single one of them had died from their injuries that they received. They'd all died from hypothermia. Okay, so that's the first theory, avalanche. So what do you think about that as a theory, Jordan?
It's definitely not that likely, considering that whatever happened in the tent, like, there's no way, it would just be on the inside, unless I misheard you.
Well, if it was an avalanche, they would have like sliced the way out of the tent to escape.
True, but I don't think they could end up 2 miles away and the avalanche still get them like that. They wouldn't have had time to go 2 miles out.
And it doesn't. I don't think it explains like.
Plus, there'll be skin breaks and visible damage from the outside, like how you mentioned about the skull being.
I think that's bizarre though. That the skull all being messed up.
And then you said about that one person who was purple with grey foam, like that could be some type of loss of oxygen, because when you stop breathing you can turn like bluey purplish colour.
Yeah.
But that doesn't describe the greyish coloured foam. That's definitely something else. Like that could have been
foaming out your mouth.
Any type of poison or something like that.
Could have been.
Nothing from an avalanche, I don't reckon.
Could have been. Yeah, but it does. People have theorized and said about the people who were naked. Apparently, what happens when your body gets to a certain temperature, it feels like you're burning, and what you don't want to do, especially in the cold, is you don't want to take any of your clothes off, because you can feel like you're getting hot or sweaty or whatever. But if you take your clothes off, that's a big, massive mistake. And so people have said that could explain why 3 of them were naked. But
why did the others have their clothes on? 2 miles.
Maybe they just took them because they were like, these guys are dead, we're taking their clothes to stay warm. I don't know.
But how could... there must have been like multiple avalanches for them to escape one, go back, take the clothes, and then get 2 miles down, and then another one happens. It's not that likely, and it's pretty far-fetched.
It is. It's weird. So I don't know. I personally don't think that is a very plausible kind of explanation. Avalanche.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that.
Yeah. Let's go to the next theory then. The next theory is that it is believed that it is some kind of military experiment that has gone wrong, and some people believe that there was probably some kind of like missile or whatever that was being experimented, and they unfortunately were hit by it or close to being hit, because they also say it could have been like some kind of to do with like radioactivity and things like that. I'm not actually sure if there was any kind of form of radioactivity that was discovered. There could have been, but some people believe that it could have been the military, and it's been kind of like, well, covered up, yeah, in a sense.
Was there like any military bases around that area?
I think there was a nearby base. I wasn't too far away from it. And people have also, with a theory, they've said that the items of like clothing or whatever was found alongside that didn't belong to them could have been from military kind of soldiers or something.
It's a bit more plausible compared to the avalanche, but I don't think something like that could go under the radar that easily. Like, I don't like they don't. The army or military would do testing in remote locations. Like, yeah, they've gone camping, but that's not a remote location if you're able to camp there. They'd have it all sectioned off, and I don't like straight away. I'm thinking that's not what's happened. I don't think something like that would happen because I've not heard any other cases like that in anywhere around that area or anywhere in the world. In fact, I've not heard any cases like that.
It is weird, but I feel like if that was kind of some kind of experiment that was going on, it could explain the injuries, because they said that the blunt force that were like able to like crush the ribs from the inside, they said that wasn't caused by like humans. Like a human could not cause that amount of like blunt trauma or whatever. So it must have been like, it could have been like a. Well, if it was an experiment, it could have done that.
Yeah, it's a lot more viable because, like, if there was testing something, that kind of reaction could happen, and that'll also explain the purpleness on one of the people and the grey foam. That could have been like a reaction from it. It stopped them from breathing, and then some greyish foam comes out, and it's like a visible identifier, and it could be true.
It is weird, but yeah, I don't know about that theory either. I feel like that's probably a lot more believable than an avalanche. Yeah, right. The next theory, I don't believe this one at all. I just think, I feel like it's laughable. But people believe that it was like an abominable snowman or like a yeti. Now, I don't believe that this is true because there's no kind of the tracks that they found were only the tracks of the people, like the 9 hikers. They found that the tracks were either I think there were 2 tracks that were booted, like so people had boots, and then the rest of the tracks were either barefoot or in socks. And so none of that screams Yeti. And people have said, well, if the Yeti didn't want to be discovered, it would have hidden its tracks, but I don't think a Yeti would have gone that far out of its way to hide its tracks over like a 3-mile radius or whatever.
No other type of creature hides their tracks. They just wander around like they own the place.
Yeah, it's bizarre. So that theory, I'm just being nope, decline. Get that theory out of my face. The next theory which is a little bit weird, but people believe that it could have been supernatural or like demonic kind of activity. Some people believe that the woods in some of the areas is actually haunted, is believed to be haunted, and so people say it's some kind of supernatural force or entity has done this to the people.
And that's a lot more believable than a Yeti doing it or
Yeah,
an avalanche, which is kind of odd, but it's something that is a lot more believable, I reckon.
yeah. Well, I feel like I see. I don't know to what extent, like how that would have actually played off though, because like if there's some kind of spirit, or if someone, for example, say someone got possessed, and then they were in the tent, they got possessed, and then everyone's like flipping heck, run away from them. He's killing them off one by one or something. I don't know. It's
It
weird.
could explain the form as well. Like this is gonna sound stupid, but as you see in like the movies, like when someone's possessed, you always see like tons of foam,
Coming
which
out of the mouth.
who knows, it could have been based off this theory. You never
You've been
know.
watching The Grudge too many times and stuff like that. Is it The Grudge? No, not The Grudge. What's it called? The
Grudge.
Exorcist.
Yes.
Why am I
I've
talking about
I've
The
actually
Grudge?
not watched that in ages, but
Oh, foam coming
still,
out your mouth, head spinning round 360
it's more like
degrees.
it's more like the Ouija movies where they like messing with a Ouija board, which
Yeah,
I advise you not to do.
don't do that stuff. Honestly, kids or people, if you're not a kid, don't do it.
Like I don't know where I stand on that, but that could be for a different video. Not
Yeah, definitely got some
from
stories on that myself, but don't mess with it. It's
I've
weird.
never touched it, but like as I was saying in like these movies, which don't quote me because it's a very broad topic to go into right now. It's something that they show in the movies, as in like, oh,
Yeah,
that's what demonic possession would look like.
yeah, it
I've
is.
never personally seen any possession, and I hope not to either, ever, because
Yeah,
that would be scary, and
no, definitely it
that's
would.
something you don't want to mess with.
Would definitely be scary. But yeah, I feel like this theory, I don't know to what extent like it, some people believe it. I don't know myself because it's just kind of like it's not necessarily far fetched. Like I think the Yeti one's far fetched, but
Yeah,
it's just like why would they get attacked like the way or what? I don't know. It's just weird. It is just
if
a
I was
bit
to rank
strange.
them, like the theories that we've mentioned, I'd say the Yeti one is at the bottom,
Yeah.
then the avalanche, then the military, then the ghost one. Is that
So
the
you're
ones that
putting
we've
the
mentioned?
ghost, yeah, you're putting the ghost one above military.
Ah, they're like the tide.
Right.
Because I can't be like, oh, it was a ghost, because
Okay,
I don't.
we've still
I'm
got
not a believer in that.
yeah, well we've still got one more theory, which is making a full circle with my boy Travis. The next theory is it was aliens.
A lot more reasonable.
Yeah, some people believe that it was aliens who to some extent has caused it. I'm not really sure it would I mean, it depends on like you were saying earlier, if the aliens did exist, we don't all our aliens that we kind of associate aliens with are fiction and you know fictionized, and so if aliens did exist, it could have been a case of aliens with these hikers. Um, I don't know. It is weird though.
It, aliens does seem a lot more reasonable as well, but there's no solid proof of aliens actually existing. And I gotta say, there's solid proof of ghosts and spirits
Yeah,
existing,
it is
but
weird.
there's a lot more evidence that points to ghosts and spirits existing,
Mm,
and that's not with this theory, with the theory that we was talking about. It's just in general.
Mm. But yeah, if going back to the if aliens exist, and you're saying there's no evidence, um, you've seen the film Men in Black, have you?
Yep,
Now, do you
all of them.
know this might shock you? It shocked me when I found out. Men in Black is loosely based on true kind of not necessarily stories, but kind of true truths. Well, it's based on basically there are these group of so-called people called the Men in Black, and they deal with a lot of like alien kind of stuff.
Mm.
Now
A
people
bit
have
like Area
theorized.
51.
Yeah, well, people have theorized though if aliens did exist, who's to say that we've not discovered it but had our minds wiped? So
And then someone like slipped through the crack and made a film about it,
yeah,
and
it
nothing's
is.
been said about it.
It is weird, but you can find stuff about Men in Black online and stories. Apparently, the biggest name associated with it is Dan Aykroyd. So you know who Dan Aykroyd is. He plays the guy out of Ghostbusters. What's his name? Do you know who he is though?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, Dan Aykroyd. He had a story about he was doing this TV series about like alien and the existence of them, and he was said that he went out one day when they were on set and he was just having a smoke, and he said he saw this black car across the road and two guys in like black suits with sunglasses and like they had like trench coats and bowler hats and they were looking right at him. And then he said he got distracted. He turned around and looked at something, and then as he turned around and looked back, they were completely gone. He finished his cig, went indoors, and then the company or the production team, whatever, said that we're cancelling the whole show. His show never got filmed or made.
That's what. So he went outside, went for a smoke, comes back in, and they're like, "Yeah, not happening."
Yeah,
That is
it's bizarre.
that. Yeah, speechless from that, actually.
It's bizarre. It really is bizarre. So, if aliens did exist, we could have discovered them, but we've had our minds wiped. Um, but yeah, that Dyatlov Pass. Like I said, you can go and look at pictures. It'll probably terrify you though, because the pictures are
Yep.
pretty graphic.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Yeah, and there is also a film that they made about it. Now, I don't actually know what the film kind of make it out to be because I've not seen it. But if you want to go and watch a film, maybe it'll be interesting. You can go and do that. But that's my stories that I have for you today, Jordan. There's a lot more I could tell you, but I feel like we've been chatting for ages already.
I actually have no idea how long it's been.
No,
It's been
it's been a while.
it's been quite a long time. I think it's been like 40 minutes.
Probably has. Well, we've not done a long episode in a while, so it's fine. Anybody
I've
want?
actually got one more thing to add as well.
Go on.
When I was younger, I always used to have the same reoccurring dream about like some type of alien. And there was always like some type of alien invasion though. It was like I'd always be in some like you like how you'd imagine it in a movie. So you're in a house, it's like like when the sky is like a bluish black, like a dark bluish colour. So
Yeah.
when it's just getting dark, or like it's just turning day, like around that time, I'd always like this is in the dream, like and like a spaceship would always like come down and just start like just attacking everything and like I'd always end up repeating the exact same process every time. And I'd never forget it. It's like I'm just woken up by like someone from my family. Like in my mind they had no picture to the face or anything. It was just nothing.
What?
And
Your
we'd always
family member?
yeah, it was like always it was someone that I lived with, but they had no like facial detail to them, if you get
So
me.
it was like
Like,
Slender Man.
well, you could say that, but it's like you can say it's like blurred out. It's like a blur, and we'd
Hmm.
always end up going to like some type of train station, and only a select few people could actually get on the train, and some were left behind. And obviously, I was on the train because of my dream, but I still knew what happened outside. If you get me, like, like in a movie, you could always see different people's perspectives.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how my dream was. It was like I was in two different types of dreams at the same time.
So you knew
Which,
that there'd been some kind of alien attack.
yeah, so I'd always see from someone else's point of view that I didn't get on the train, and it was very weird. And that dream must have happened for
Right.
about 4 months in a row. It wasn't every night.
For a
It wasn't
month.
consistent. It was like every
How old were you?
couple of days. I was about 12.
12.
Yeah, it always used to happen every couple of days, and I've never actually spoke about it, and I genuinely forgot about it
Oh, really?
until this time when you started talking about aliens and that.
Oh,
Yeah, it just came back to my memory, and I hope that I don't have it again
man.
either, because it's not a nice dream. It's
Tonight
not
you go to
pleasant.
bed and you're gonna have a dream about aliens. Flipping heck, I shouldn't agree to go on WezLife. Well, it is weird, but I don't think we'll ever get attacked by aliens.
I don't think in our lifetime, no. I don't think we'll, like, we're in the middle of say
The
like a few years
coronavirus.
ago. A few years ago, we was like, no, well, not a few years ago, many years ago, we was discovering like the moon and that, and now we're like discovering our solar system.
Wait,
Like,
when you
we're not
say
gonna.
discovering the moon, are you saying someone looked up and went, "Whoa, what's that in the sky?"
No, I mean like how like people went to the moon.
Yeah.
Like, and now like we're discovering more stuff in our solar system and like trying to
Yeah, I
reach Mars
mean,
and all that.
Elon Musk, he's gonna do it for us.
He is the man.
Mm.
Like, I don't think we'll see anything in our lifetime to do with aliens. Like,
Mm.
which is unfortunate because we missed going to the moon. We might get to see going to Mars. That could be by like what 2030 or something. They mentioned.
If we get to that year, if the coronavirus doesn't kill us all off.
Nah, positive hopes. Not gonna happen.
Mm.
And I don't think we'll see too much. Unfortunately,
Mm.
it's very sad.
Oh well. But yeah, anyway, these mysteries might never be solved. People can always just theorize about them. But
There we go, guys. We've got a plan for you. Because of this virus, we're all on lockdown. Do some research and let us know.
let us know what did it.
You've got plenty of time. We have plenty of time.
Yep.
We'll all get looking, and we're gonna crack
And
the cases that we went over.
if you like this episode, actually, we'll come back with a part two with because I've got plenty of stories that I've been looking at. Maybe I'll
I've
do a
got
bit
some stuff
more.
as well.
Yeah, I'll probably have to do a bit more research because this one was just I didn't have all the facts and figures written out in front of me. Kind of trying to
That's all
just
good. Spontaneous episode.
yeah, bit of a long one. I've enjoyed it. I'll listen this back me one like because I listen to podcasts normally when I go to bed and fall asleep listening. So I'll just listen this back and just be like spooking myself while I go to bed. I'll have a nightmare about aliens. It'll be great.
You're on a train.
Yeah, hopefully not. But yeah, cheers for being on, Jordan. I've enjoyed it.
No worries.
Been a good chat.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. Here's a cliffhanger for everyone, and maybe write it down in the comments as well about the wonders of the earth. Like, you've got these pyramids in Egypt and all over the world.
Yeah.
And I remember watching a video a long time ago, and they all line up with each other. Like, if you did a put dots on the earth, it all line up in like a line or like a circle.
It lines up with Orion's belt.
Yeah, so they're all
Yeah.
like lined up, and many people believe that was done by aliens because these pyramids are huge. You can see them from space.
Yeah, I was reading about. They said, was it 20? It was like 20 odd years, wasn't it? It took to build.
It was
But
a
they were,
long time.
yeah, but they were saying that over them 20 odd years, it would mean that they'd have to place a block of stone every 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, which seems
consistently for them
impossible.
20 odd years. So that's not like, place a stone every 2.5 minutes for like 8 hours a day. It's consistent for the whole 20 odd years.
Yeah, and these stones are huge, like
Mm,
double our size, maybe even a bit more.
crazy.
Pretty mental.
Good little thing to look at anyway. Maybe we'll talk about that in depth a lot more next time.
Cliffhanger for you. Dun, dun, dun.
Alright. Well, thank you once again, Jordan, for being on.
Thank you for having me, Wes.
That's alright, buddy. And we'll speak to you all next time. Cheery bye.
Bye.